yourself, and our heart is restless until it rests in you. Well, each week we'll have a sermon like this, and then we'll hear from a testimony from a member of our congregation. In this case, Carrie Bear is going to come up and start us off. So, Carrie, join me here on the couch.
I would love to do that.
All right. So, Carrie, tell us, you're very different. Yeah, I'll take this out of it. You're very different than me.
Yes. It's true.
So how does this work for you?
Well, I have some thoughts. I'm going to begin by saying I am Carrie Bear and I am a workaholic. Actually, I hope I'm a recovering workaholic. Like everyone in recovery, whether it's a serious substance abuse or money abuse or food abuse or social media device abuse or being a news junkie and abusing that, or whatever it is that has a hold on us, we in recovery know that we have to, every day, tell the truth to ourselves. And an example would be alcohol does not solve your problems. In fact, it could kill you. That's an example. And my truth is this: crossing everything off my to-do list does not make me whole, turns out. Satisfaction over this is fleeting. It does not deepen relationships. It is not doing for me what I think it should do for me. And so there came a time when I turned a corner. I met some people. They had better handles on their stress. They seemed more peaceful and usually a bit happier. And they were not always going around talking about how busy they were and how far behind they were. They just didn't do that. They talked about other things, and I was drawn to that. I decided to slow down, to reflect on how I was living, and to find out how to take a different path, or at least seriously revise the path that I was on. Observing Sabbath, which just means stopping and resting and leaning into God, is an act of faith. It very much gets into my view of God. Taking the Sabbath seriously made me ask the question, can God really handle things while I'm taking a rest break? Am I sure about this? Which leads to this question: is it perhaps possible that your view of God needs some work? Too small? The answer to all this is yes. Yes, I had a diminished view of God, and yes, he is more than capable of running the universe without me. Who knew? But more to the point, if I cease working for 1 day in 7, it is unlikely that every project I am working on will fall apart. Every person I know will think less of me, and I will lose my job. It's unlikely that if I take a Sabbath, those things will happen. And I made the shocking discovery that Jesus doesn't care about my to-do list. Again, who knew? I love my to-do list. It's possible that I fall down and worship my to-do list. It's an idol. Actually, more than my to-do list, it's the woman who can do all that stuff. That's what I love. I love her. She's not real. She is my false self, based on a lie. The real person trying to do that is very shaky and cranky and stressed out, which are not things issuing from the Holy Spirit, by the way. But Jesus cares about how I relate to him. And taking a Sabbath makes space for me to think about that. The place of quiet rest near to the heart of God that the choir was singing about. I start thinking about, what am I really doing anyway? And has God called me to do all this stuff? Have I talked to God recently, or more importantly, listened carefully to him recently? Have I stayed still and quiet long enough to become aware of what he is saying, and more importantly, to receive his love, and therefore calm down? Calm down and get back to reality. Sabbath allows for good self-reflection so that I can move away from anxiety and stress and into things that lift my heart and make me glad and calm me down and bring me to a place of peace, which I need at least once a week. I need it real bad. Journals are actually good for this, and you all are getting a journal. When I journal, when I stop enough to sit down and journal, I figure out where I'm at, what I'm thinking, what I'm doing. And sometimes it's surprising. Sometimes I realize I'm very angry, or I'm very sad, or I'm in grief. And I need to be in those places and then bring all of that to Jesus instead of continuing to run with all of that, shoving those feelings down. Journals are very helpful with that. In Sabbath, I grow my relationship with Jesus, and that's a good thing, even if it doesn't move the needle on my to-do list. Because being with Jesus is life-giving, and I want to live. When I got into these ideas, I shared them with people I was working with. And I want to share what one of these graduate students at Berkeley, where I was working when this happened, said to me in a birthday card he sent to me last month. So this is a graduate student, brilliant, at Berkeley, trying to get his engineering degree. Can anybody relate to that in this crowd? I think there are a lot of engineers in this town, right? And I was working with a lot of these very bright people who were working very hard, because graduate school is hard, and it's very, very time consuming. So here's what he says. Happy 70th birthday. I heard through the grapevine that it was your birthday and wanted to share with you a memory from the time we overlapped at Veritas Fellowship, that was the name of our grad fellowship, in Berkeley. You were the fall retreat speaker for our fellowship, and I believe the theme for the weekend was spiritual disciplines. I remember at the end of your talk that you challenged us as busy grad students to try practicing a weekly Sabbath. My first thought was, are you kidding me? I'm not getting enough done working 7 days a week.
7, yeah, sorry.
See what I live with here? 7 days a week. You should pray for me more than you do, because... Okay. I'm going to get back to reading the proper thing here. Okay, let's go to, are you kidding me? I'm not getting enough done working 7 days a week. Do you realize how much productivity I will lose if I only work 6 days? But because of your messages that week, I decided that I would at least try it for a month and see what happens. And I got to tell you, when I read this part, I was shocked, because I didn't think any of those guys were listening to me. To my surprise, but probably not yours, but actually I was surprised, TJ, my productivity actually went up. Remember Pastor Randy said that? Truth, right here. Actually went up, and more importantly, I was more physically and spiritually recharged each week. I ended up developing a routine on my Sabbaths that was incredibly joyful and life-giving. It totally changed my life, and I still practice it to this day. He is a professor at Harvey Mudd in the Claremont colleges in Southern California. And then he says, thank you. So this is TJ's testimony. I didn't know the Holy Spirit was doing this, but isn't this cool? And I don't think there's any better way to say it than how much this can change life. So
Thank you.
That's my story.
Thank you, Carrie. Mm.